Okay, I get it. So times are a bit tough. You've got to spend all of your money on booze to forget about how rubbish your life is, and now you've got to drop your smartphone down the bogs trying to send a pathetic drunken text to your ex, who by the way still hates your rotten guts. No worries though, your very existence may be unbearable, but at least you can buy yourself a shiny new smartphone without having to sell your body on the streets again. Because this here is the Moto E6 Plus, fresh from Motorola, which boasts a dual lens camera, an HD display, and definitely plenty of shine, all for just £100. I've had my SIM card stashed inside for a good few days now to see if there are any funny little quirks or qualms, so here is my in-depth Motorola Moto E6 Plus review. And for more on the latest and greatest mobile tech, please do subscribe and ding that notifications bell. Cheers! So starting with design, and unsurprisingly for a budget mobile, this Motorola blower sports a basic plastic chassis. You can grab it in this mirror style finish or a cheery cherry style as well, but either way it's going to get greasier than a Greggs sausage roll once you actually lay your hands on it. And of course it ain't too durable either. After just a few days of use, the Motorola Moto E6 Plus has already got a couple of light scratches there on the back, which to be fair you can't really see unless you kind of wipe off all of those smudges anyway. Thankfully Motorola has at least kindly bundled a transparent cover in the box in case you want to keep the phone all shiny and new looking. And no complaints with the rest of the design, as the phone is comfortable to clutch and to use. Despite those chunky bezels surrounding the screen, the handset doesn't really feel too bulky, although sadly there is no dedicated one-handed mode or any features like that to help out. You do have a rear-mounted fingerprint sensor though for fast unlocking of the phone, and it works a treat as long as your hands aren't dirty or too moist or too dry or anything like that. Impressively, the Moto E6 Plus also supports face recognition using that front-facing camera, and it works alright in decent lighting, although it ain't exactly super nippy. Although if you try using it in a darkened room, then frankly you're one hell of an optimist. And this face recognition is just one of a couple of bonus features that Motorola has added to that stock Android Pie UI, although these bonus bits are sadly in scarce supply. You don't get any of the usual Moto experiences thanks to the E6 Plus's limitations, including that well-missed one-handed mode and nifty gesture controls, and they definitely are a miss, if not quite a deal breaker. There's also no NFC on board either for your contactless payment needs. Still, you do get the full range of Google apps and services and a respectable 6.1-inch IPS screen to enjoy them on. It's 720p HD, not full HD, but it's still reasonably crisp for video and the likes of that, and the 19.5:9 aspect ratio is well suited to movies and shows. There's only a teeny weeny little notch intruded on that display as well. It doesn't really get in the way too much at all. And of course, as you'd expect from a budget smartphone, it's just a single mono speaker that's used for your media. It's pretty loud though if you just bump it on. All kinds of great tools. Top volume. Pulse and SpO2 monitoring and full notification support. If you're a casual fitness fan, there's a lot. It'll definitely do the job if you're listening to a video or something in a noisy environment. Obviously not great for music as it is tinny as hell. But the good news there is at least you do get a 3.5mm headphone jack, so you can just plug in a wired pair if your Bluetooth set is out of batteries or you don't have a Bluetooth set. Job done. Now, a basic MediaTek Helio P22 chipset powers the Moto E6 Plus, and it's fine for everyday shenanigans, but I would not expect a silky smooth performance. In fact, this most basic £99 model sports just 2GB of RAM, so it's no wonder that it struggles. Seriously, the Moto E6 Plus at times is slower than the average Take Me Out contestant. Apps are constantly being automatically closed in the background to free up that meager memory, but it's just not enough to prevent the general lethargy. And while most apps do run well enough, I did see Google Photos freeze up a few times while I was trying to just watch a video or zoom into some snaps. I would have said if you've got a bit more cash to hand, then maybe upgrade to the 4GB model instead, but to be honest, £150 these days will bag you the Moto G7 Power, which isn't just an upgrade over the E6 Plus in terms of the performance, it's also better for the likes of battery life as well, as the name kind of suggests. See, the Moto E6 Plus has a 3000 mAh cell stuffed inside, and unfortunately it won't quite last the day if you're constantly on it. Just messing about on stuff like maps and WhatsApp, plus a bit of camera use and a couple of hours of music streaming was enough to kill the phone just before bedtime. Although to be fair, that is without resorting to the battery saver mode, which does stretch out those dregs for an extra couple of hours. If you're just going to be checking emails, stuff like that, you'll be absolutely fine, but more demanding users should check out something like the Nokia 3.2 instead. Now last up is the camera tech, and for a £100 blower, that dual lens rear setup ain't too bad. You get a 13-megapixel primary camera with an f2.0 aperture, and that's backed by a 2-megapixel depth sensor for those portrait shots. While the detail levels aren't exactly impressive, at least colours look quite natural, and even moving subjects are generally captured cleanly. The Moto E6 Plus rarely overexposes a shot either, although the HDR smarts are rather limited. On bright days, you will get some murk creeping into your shots. If you want to swap to portrait mode, you can actually adjust the background background blur effects before taking a pic, which is a nice touch. And my test shots generally came out fine, although the processing time is nuts. The Moto E6 Plus generally freezes up for around 6 to 7 seconds while it cobbles together your shots, so you better hope you got it right the first time. Of course, there's no dedicated night mode or anything like that here on the Moto E6 Plus, so low light shots are often a grainy, ugly mess. But you can shoot up to full HD resolution video and the results are fine for basic home movies. Just don't move around too much as the image stabilization is pants. But once again, color reproduction is reasonably accurate, and at this price it really is tricky to find any kind of fault with the E6 Plus's performance. And if you swap around to that front-facing 8-megapixel selfie cam, you'll get respectable enough shots of your mug. Perfectly fine for sharing on the Facebooks or the Instagrams. So that right there is what I think of the Moto E6 Plus after several days of use. That performance limitation unfortunately does make it slightly frustrating to use at times, but it will get the job done eventually. If you want something for just general everyday use, checking emails, messages, bit of web browsing, things like that, and a bit of music streaming as well, absolutely fine, will do the job, and for 100 quid, to be honest, pretty solid value for money. But if you've got a little bit more cash to spare, I would highly recommend jumping up to the Moto G7 Power instead, which basically wipes out most of the negatives here on the E6 Plus. The performance, the battery life, all that stuff is well and truly sorted out. It's a great handset. So please do check out my roundup of the best sub £200 smartphones for more ideas of what to spend your meager amounts of cash on. And please do poke subscribe and ding that notifications bell as well for more on the latest and greatest tech. Cheers everyone, love you!